We are back in session, and now we are under general public comments. I will call the first 7 speakers, and once your name has been called, would you please come to the front and be prepared to speak? Don Schrader, Colleen Aycock, David Wallace, Raymond Jimenez, Judy Young, Gloria Rai Estrada. It looks like Don Schrader has left. Colleen Aycock, welcome. And you have a 2-minute time limit.
I wanted to go after the man that's spoken 200 times. This is my first time.
What is your name?
Colleen Aycock.
You're next.
Oh,
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you so much.
You're up.
I just want to talk about the crime in Albuquerque and the gang problem and the fact that recently it's been confirmed by 2 different members of the security forces and different people that have owned businesses that the Sinaloa cartel is operating between Louisiana and Tramway, and MS-13 has tagged the rest of Central to I-25. These are not the only known gangs, but they're just the 2 that really bother me right now. And considering all the crime that I've faced, I believe that where I live in southeast Albuquerque is disproportionately affected by the crime rates. And I apologize for reading, but that's the only way I can get this done in 2 minutes. So my family alone has experienced a neighbor who was killed. His throat was slit, and by 2 men trying to steal his truck parked in his own driveway. Both of my sons have had their homes burglarized, and one son was rear-ended by a thief driving a stolen car that actually totaled his car and 4 others in a crime spree. So I'm very concerned that I'm paying for these crime costs in our city. I'm paying in money and in crime. And yesterday, the reason I'm here is that my son was riding his bike in a very nice neighborhood in Nob Hill along Ridgecrest, and in a park where his wife and baby take yoga lessons, and he had a car with 2 men pull up next to him and get point blank range and the passenger pointed a gun at his head and told him to back off the bicycle, give him all of his possessions, and in that he lost everything. He lost his keys. I felt like he lost more than his identity. He lost a part of his life, and he certainly lost his security. We know that crime has been reduced, but these statistics are also affected by those who don't report the crimes anymore because they feel nothing's going to be done and they're not going to be heard or anything is going to be taken into account, and they're certainly not going to be. That's it?
That's it. I'm sorry. No,
Put
you've
away
waited a
by
long
the judges.
time.
I'm reading really fast. So, enough is enough.
Colleen, my apologies, but your time has expired, but thank you for coming down.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious.
That was the red light?
That was 2 minutes.
Oh, my
Thank you.
God.
David Wallace?
And I'll start by saying I'm Colleen's husband. And I came to talk about tiny houses. And I realize it's not on the agenda, but it will be in the future. And many of the comments that were talked about by the 3 people that voted no on this previous deal are applied to the tiny house program. You know, the county's going to give $2 million, they say, but there's no promise about anything beyond that. And by the way, $1 million over 30 years, up to $1 million over 30 years, is $33,000 a year. So that's the promise you have from the county according to the legal document. And you know, Debbie O'Malley attended the public forum at the Mesa Center over there, whatever, Manzano Center, and she said this tiny house deal is a done deal. And how has it become a done deal that the county can come, tell the city what they're gonna build within the city without building permits and all the other things that go with it? And so I'll come back when it gets on the agenda, but I'm leaving you with that message. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. And Ms. Aycock, if you'd like to have our staff make copies of your report, we can get them passed out to the counselors. Thank you. Next speaker is Raymond Jimenez, followed by Judy Young, followed by Gloria Rai Estrada, followed by Christy Lee Hody, followed by Catherine Mexall, Robert Vick, Mike Prando, Martina Mercer, and Art Tannenbaum. Welcome. Go and state your name for the record, please.
My name is Judy Young, and I want to thank you for your service, and thank you for listening to me the last time I was here. I requested that you reinstate the Safe City strike force, and you did. And so I know that you hear. When we talk with you, you do hear, because there was a response to that. And that is going to help Albuquerque so much. And there are other things like the gang unit and the drug enforcement that were discontinued in 2009 that need to be also reinstated. One of the things that I think we should be so very proud of about Albuquerque is that there have been several programs that were initiated right here in Albuquerque. For example, Crime Stoppers, and for example, the first special education program that now is mandated throughout the United States, and the first publicly funded domestic violence program in the United States, which I assisted with Phil Chacon in beginning. So we have so much to be proud of here in Albuquerque, and I think we all have the same goal, and that is to keep our city a quality city. One of the things that I went to a lecture on Friday morning, and I heard of the report that gave our city a D when our neighboring states, Arizona, Colorado, and Texas, have A and B. We are on the train to become the next Compton. And I am a retired teacher from Houston, and so I had a lot of students that were forced to come to the facility that I ran to get them out of Compton because it was gang-ridden. So what I would ask you to do is turn the train around so that we do not become the next Compton. But thank you for your service.
Thank you, Judy. Gloria Estrada? Christy Lee Hody? Welcome.
Thank you. Donna. Thank you. Good evening, council members. My name is Chris Howd, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Citizens Information Committee of Martineztown Board of Directors and the spokesman, Frank Martinez. We are the duly recognized Neighborhood Association of South Martineztown. I'm here to express our thanks to Parks Department, Solid Waste Management Department, Planning Department, Safe City Strike Force, and the Albuquerque Police Department Valley Command for their rapid professional responses to our recent numerous requests for assistance in our community and neighborhood parks, Martineztown Park at 400 Edith Northeast, and the Acequia Madre Urban Walkway at Roman Northeast between Edith and Arno. Groups of men and women set up campsites during the day and occupy the park after the 10 p.m. closure. Some leave litter, garbage, and use syringes when they leave. Park lights have been vandalized to provide a cover of darkness. Surfaces are graffitied. Martineztown Park is next to Longfellow Elementary School. Men and women sleeping in the park playground equipment prevent early arriving school children and their parents from using the playground due to safety concerns. Some members of the local lunch crowd, visitors, and tourists no longer feel safe in our park. We thank Park Superintendent Mark Chavez and Assistant Superintendent Ben Cansados and their maintenance team, cleaners, including the electricians for the increased park cleanings of trash and the repairs of the vandalized electrical boxes, removal of graffiti, and repairs of vandalized equipment. We thank Solid Waste Management Supervisor Dan Humble and his team for the constant cleanup and maintenance in the walkway. We appreciate the help with the disposal of the used syringes. That's a safety issue for our elementary school children walking here on their way to school and home from school. We thank the city's graffiti team for their amazingly prompt cleanup. Some of these locations require power washing to maintain park design. We thank the planning department's Safe Cities Strike Force team for their effort to identify issues of vagrancy. We thank police.
Christie, thank you, but your time has expired. Thank you for being here. Catherine Mexel, Robert Vick, Mike Prondo, Martina Mesmer, Art Tenenbaum, Athena Christo de Lulu. Mr. Tenenbaum, you're next. Welcome.
Ken Sanchez, you'll have to forgive me. I had a nightmare. In the nightmare, a guy called Rob said, I know, we'll call it art. We can call it art. All different, everyone has different opinions about art. And besides, there's no accounting for taste. Get it? No accounting for... Look, do you have any idea how difficult it can be to pull off a good 2-minute long comedy routine? Well, neither do I, but I just thought I'd give it a try. You know what I'm saying, council members? Give it a whirl. When in Rome. Okay, now let's go to Jerry. Jerry, the budget officer, is going to spin the wheel of gross receipts tax distribution. Give it a whirl, Jerry. Well, I know we've had a lot of ups and downs and downs and ups and downs the past couple of years, but this month's GRT distribution is unbelievable. You hear that, folks? He said unbelievable. Isn't this exciting? Go ahead and proceed. Well, this month's GRT distribution shows an increase of 20-something%. Incredible. Hey, what's the difference between the ABQ Ride spokesman, the City of Albuquerque Transit Department Public Information Officer, and Tommy Flanagan? John Lovitz played Tommy Flanagan. You know, the pathological liar on Saturday Night Live. Well, I hear my time is almost up. The old-fashioned bell over there is rung, and the newfangled timer contraption here pretty soon will be beeping as though it's the end of the world. Beep, beep, the sky is falling. Stop talking. Don't say another word. And then, Ken, you'll be back there saying, thank you, Art, beep. And your time has expired. And I'm like, I know, Ken, beep. Don't say another word. Step away from the podium. Listen, Albuquerque deserves better. You've failed the city.
Thank you. Next speaker, Athena Crystal de Lulu. Jason Sanchez. Gary Peterson. Brian Tremko. Tad Naminsky. And the last speaker will be Juan Torres. Welcome. State your name for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, Councilman. My name is Brian Tremko. I'm with the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. I wanted to talk about 1816 there, Bank of the West bond, a little bit. The Carpenters are asking you guys to oppose this bill, not because we're opposed to construction or opposed to building projects, but what we are concerned with is some of the stuff that's not in the bill. One, any construction project being created in Albuquerque should have an apprenticeship requirement attached to it. We have to train our workers as part of what we do. We get a double bang for our tax dollars. I spoke about that in the past, but I think if it's got bond money, tax money, credits, waivers, grants, any of those, we should be attaching apprenticeship. It should be part of that bill. We also should have Davis-Bacon attached, because if there's taxpayers and dollars involved, Davis-Bacon should be attached to that also, little Davis-Bacon. For too long, our tax dollars have been used and ignored or circumvented, and Davis-Bacon's been circumvented. What I'm requesting is, one, the citizens of Albuquerque get quality finished buildings and they're constructed properly the first time. Using apprentices, we can teach our trades, carpentry, plumbing, electrical. We can see our families being paid area standard wages and benefits, like healthcare, dental, vision, not just for the member, but for their whole families. We also should have defined pensions, because when we have a crisis coming in this country, when people are going to try to survive on 401ks that the stock market can wipe out in seconds. We need to explore ways to make our prevailing wage in healthcare that's designated in Davis-Bacon be applied to healthcare. Right now, a lot of times contractors don't pay it. They just pay the worker a little bit of money, so it's a problem. We need to fix that. We also need to see real local hire requirements on all our projects. Fix these issues before you pass more bonds for construction. Let's get our workers to work. Let's take care of our workers. If we do that, we all win. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tad Naminsky, and the last speaker will be Juan Torres. This is general public comment. What is your name? Okay, then we've skipped you. Let's have you come up in. No, it's okay. Okay, you can go right after Mr. Naminsky. Go and proceed. Tad, go and proceed.
Thank you. Well, who's behind this project? California Carpenters Union. Well, they own this land, of course. Do we want it California dipping in New Mexico? They got enough problems already. We don't want their problems here. We need our own people right here employed. So that is one thing. Now, speaking about the other project building, just council pass, which is Sanchez, sounded like he's going with father, Chavez, who's against. Well, he turns around and he voted for this project. What kind of hypocrite? And I assume he's Catholic too. What's a hypocrite, liar? Well, that is politics. Well, of course, bookkeeping too, manipulation. He knows how to manipulate numbers. So now, let's go to this project again. Well, this project should be built way on the west side, by the dump, landfill, or by jail. Should be, because as I understand, that should be not dumping site, everybody here in downtown. I'm sorry, downtown is dump site. Also, alcoholism, gambling, drugs, everything goes here. And isn't that creating homelessness? Yes, that does, when we have plenty of this tree. Well, speaking about drug, who's behind it? DOJ.
Thank you, your time has expired. Okay, let's go back to Martina Mercimer. My apologies.
That's okay.
Welcome.
I'll help you one more time. Mesmer.
Mesmer, okay, we got that
And
correct.
it comes from mesmerism. Enough said. I heard previously today from counselors, quote unquote, we have a roadmap. We'll serve the most severely threatened. We have a roadmap. We'll create a plan of action to protect the neighborhood. This is all in the future. You want to build first and then talk about what's needed, the details required. Very strange. Address the bigger problem down the road, underlined by me. It feels like build it first. We'll worry about the future details later. That's not how design and planning is done. Not even in my day when I was in City Hall and a planner. We did it way in the other direction. You make plans first, then you get the money for it, and then you spend that money. So luckily, some counselors have that same concept. Smart housing, that was a good comment. If we do housing, and yes, we need it. The homeless deserve help. There was a comment by someone in the audience that more money is being spent on these homeless projects than on not normal, sorry to use that word, on non-threatened people, let's say it that way. And that's okay, but do it smart. 21,000 for 116 square feet on the tiny home village is 172 a square foot. No contractor would cost that much to do a 116 square foot wooden shed, which is nice looking and so forth. The money being spent is too much.
Thank you for your
Slow
time.
down the tiny house project.
Thank you. That concludes general public comments. Okay, your name was called. Go and proceed.
My name is Juan Torres. I'm with the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters, and I am a New Mexican carpenter. I have attended 3 of the tiny home general engagement meetings in the last 2 weeks. The reoccurring issues that there are not enough jobs in Albuquerque to accommodate the homelessness we have. Jobs here can't keep a family sustained on a basic level of comfort and to stay at a poverty levels. There is a developer that is planning to construct a project worth $30 million and is asking for $3 million in tax breaks. This project has the potential to put good money into hardworking families that need it, money that will go back into the local economy, into their local neighborhoods, buying a home, putting good food on their table, and giving a hope for the future that will be better. Why should this entity get tax breaks and not help grow the working community that they're wanting to grow and prosper in? We are opposed to this project until it has prevailing wage, an apprenticeship program, and local contractor hire languages in place. This project will create wealth that will benefit our local businesses and help families that live here. We owe this to our communities and demand that the workers of Albuquerque benefit from this incoming opportunity of growth. We owe it to our communities and their families for a better future that sweat equity, hard work, and sacrifice that will be given by paying the prevailing wage. We owe it to our young adults that are looking for a better opportunity by offering apprenticeship programs on projects that will provide for them and their families. Our young adults need an apprenticeship program to keep them off the streets and out of trouble, giving options that keep them alive and out of jail. We, as a community, are tired of hearing how other states benefit with jobs that hurt our local economy. The New Mexicans are secondary level workers and that our tax dollars are benefiting their home states. We owe our communities prevailing wages, a better hope for the future with apprenticeship programs that leads our communities and young adults to a chance to a better future. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and I also want to thank you for attending the meeting with the tiny homes on Albuquerque's west side. I thought your comments were well stated, so appreciate you being there.
We just want to create an opportunity to grow the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Okay, I believe now that concludes general public comments. Let's move on. We are now under announcements. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. There will be an Albuquerque Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority meeting on Wednesday, August 22nd at 5 p.m. in the Vincent E. Griego Chambers.
Councilor Pena.
Thank you, Mr. President. There will be an Albuquerque Bernalillo County Government Commission meeting on Thursday, August 23rd at 5 p.m. in the Vincent E. Griego Chambers.
Thank you, Councilor Pena. We are now under item 13. That is approvals. And this is OC-8, the renewal of contract with Mr. Edmund Harness, Director of the Civilian Police Oversight Agency. The council's authority in this matter is limited to confirmation of the CPOA Director per the recommendation of the Police Oversight Board. While the POB appears to be recommending certain terms for the Director's contract, those matters are not before the council this evening. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move deferral of this for 6 months.
We have a motion and a second for a 6-month deferral. I support the
Mr.
deferral.
President?
I know that Councilor Benton also has a bill that is going through the Finance Committee right now in making some recommendations and changes to the POB. But I'm not sure if it's going to take 6 months. I will support the 6-month deferral if that is necessary. Councilor Winter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. And this is, just basically reviewing the POB, the ordinance, and seeing if we need to do any changes and just get a total review of it. So hopefully in 6 months we will have that done.
Thank you, Councilor Davis, Councilor Gibson, and then Councilor Benton.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. And just to clarify, if we complete that process earlier than that, we could always remove this back and bring it back to the council before that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Gibson.
Okay, my question is about Mr. Harness working without a contract. Would that, would the terms of his contract automatically be extended until we can take up this matter again?
Mr. President,
Zamar?
Councilor Gibson, the police oversight ordinance does allow for the existing director to carry over until a successor is named or until he's reappointed.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Benton.
Yeah, I had the same question. I see Mr. Harness is here, so I'd like to hear from that.
Would you like to comment, Mr. Harness?
Mr. President, before we go too much farther, I'd just like to point out that under the council rules, 90 days or 3 months is the longest that we can defer a bill. If you want to suspend the rules, of course, though, you can suspend the rules and defer for 6 months if you'd like.
Councilor Jones?
Thank you. And Mr. Zaman, if we have not completed the review and any comments that we'd like to make on the ordinance, can we do it for another 3 months if necessary, or 2 months? Or
Mr. President, Councilor Jones, yes.
Thank you. Mr. President, I'd like to amend my motion to 3 months.
We have a motion and a second to amend that for a 3-month period, and I'd like to hear from Mr. Harness.
Yes, good evening, Mr. President, councilors. My understanding was that the issue is simply the renewal of, approving renewal of my contract, and it's not tied to the ordinance itself. I think that those are separate issues. The ordinance at this point is at the Finance and Government Subcommittee on a 60-day deferral. The issue before the council this evening is simply my contract and whether or not the council wants to approve its renewal.
Right now, there is a motion and a second on the floor for a 90-day deferral. Councilor Benton.
Yeah, I'm going to oppose the motion. I think Mr. Harness is doing a great job. We're trying to improve the POB ordinance, but at the same time, I don't think it's prudent to be expressing some sort of doubt in the kind of a very professional job he's been doing as far as I'm concerned.
Any other questions or comments? Councilor Davis.
Yeah, just to clarify, Mr. President, and Mr. Harness, thanks, I appreciate that. I agree with you. I mean, this motion is about that, but I think excuse me, I think while we're looking at the POB ordinance and while we're at a different place now than we were 3 years ago when we brought you on originally under that contract, I think we ought to take a hard look at whether our POB ordinance needs more than might be proposed at the FGO for now. And just to be sure that before we tie a director into a 3-year term, that director knows what the ordinance will be, what the expectations are. And I think we've heard from some members of the board that, expressed a desire to know what the rules would be going down the road. And so I think the ordinance contemplates that we're not required to do this today and we can defer, and that would give us more guidance about direction down the road. So I'd feel comfortable with 90 days. I think that just makes sense so that everybody has a chance to weigh in on the full picture.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second on the floor for OC 8 for a 90-day deferral. All those in favor signify by saying yes and raise your hand.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed?
No.
That carries on a 6-3 vote. We are now under final actions. Councilor Winter, O-24.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. And this is O-24. This is approving a project involved advanced network management pursuant to the Local Economic Development Act and floor substitute O-4-10 to support the acquisition and renovation of a commercial building located at 40,001 Jefferson Plaza Northeast. I move a do pass, and I will turn it over to the administration.
We have a motion and a second for a do pass. And Councilor Winter, we also have 2 individuals that are signed up to speak. Do you want to hear from them first?
It's a long one.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to public comment on this, and then we will go to the administration. The first speaker will be Deborah Inman, followed by Mark Roper. Welcome, Ms. Inman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, fellow city councilors. My name is Deborah Inman, and I am the Senior Vice President of Business Development for Albuquerque Economic Development. Heidi Howley with AED's existing business team started working with A&M in April of 2017. At that time, she had the opportunity to introduce the company to the Job Training Incentive Program and review the various incentives that New Mexico and Albuquerque have available to expanding economic-based businesses. Heidi and I met with company representatives again in March of 2018 as the company was considering an expansion and looking to lease between 15,000 to 25,000 square feet of office space because they had outgrown their current facility. At that time, Ramon Derman, the CEO, made it very clear that he was committed to maintaining the company's headquarters in Albuquerque and expanding their operation in our state. The company currently employs 62 full-time employees in Albuquerque today and will expand by no fewer than 20 new full-time employees and possibly as many as 40 net new hires over the next 3 years. The salaries for these individuals, the average wages, $72,500 a year, plus benefits. The company began its operations in 1994 in Albuquerque and currently has revenues in excess of $92 million annually, with approximately 70%, again, 70% of those sales to customers outside of New Mexico. This expansion will allow the company to hire staff and engineers as they continue to expand their customer base in other markets while maintaining their headquarters right here in Albuquerque. We at AED respectfully request the council's approval of their LIDA ordinance and project participation agreement before you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Roper?
President Sanchez, members of the council, Mark Roper. I'm with the New Mexico Economic Development Department, and I'm also here to speak on behalf of approval tonight of this project for A&M. Many times we sit here and we talk about the things that we need to do to stop brain drain, create quality jobs in New Mexico, and create anchors here in Albuquerque and the greater state of New Mexico. This is an example of one of those projects. As Deborah mentioned, we met with this company and they're originally talking about outgrowing their space and leasing a facility. With this action tonight, they will be able to acquire a facility, anchoring deep roots in New Mexico, in Albuquerque, and guaranteeing these jobs for years to come, not just a few years, but many years to come, and continuing to establish their headquarters here in New Mexico. So we can always sit here and speak about creating quality jobs, and these actions tonight will accentuate those types of things. Again, I stand and ask you for your support tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roper. There's no one else to speak on this agenda item. Let's bring it back to the council. Okay, we do have a team member from Economic Development. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. President and councilors. My name is Deirdre Firth. I'm Deputy Director for the Economic Development Department. I think Ms. Inman and Mr. Roper summarized the key points of the project very well. This is to provide $250,000 of city local economic development funds, and also for the city to act as fiscal agent for $750,000 in state LIDA funding. Respectful of the council's time, I can provide additional project summary information or be happy to stand for questions. We also have Mr. Vance Creer here from the company, and he is also welcome to provide the council any additional comments or questions that they may have.
Are there any additional questions for Ms. Firth? Thank you, Deidre.
Mr. President, I urge your support.
We have a motion and a second for O-24. Any questions? Other questions? See none. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Those opposed say no. That carries unanimously. We are now on item B, which is R-56. Councilor Benton.
Thank you, Mr. President. R-56 is amending Committee Substitute R-1818 to extend the deadline for Committee of Public and Private Entities to conduct an analysis of the 2018 International Energy Conservation Code with the intentions to replace the currently adopted 2009 Energy Conservation Code. Just quick explanation. It took us longer than we were hoping to get a consultant on board to to help out. Council offered to help out the planning department with the comparison of these codes. So we've got that going now, and we can get back on track.
We have a motion and a second. Is anyone signed up from the public to speak? Okay, we are back on the bill. Are there any questions? Councilor Benton to close. We have a motion and a second for R-56. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes, those opposed say no. That passes unanimously. We are now under item D. That is myself and Councilor Winter, O-25.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is O-25. It's an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a loan agreement and intercept agreement by and between the City of Albuquerque and the New Mexico Finance Authority, evidencing a special limited obligation of the city to pay a principal amount of $2.740 million to acquire, construct, equip, and furnish a fleet maintenance facility for the benefit of the city fire department. I move it do pass.
We have a motion and a second.
And I need to move a floor substitute for O-25. It's in your iPads.
We have a motion and a second to move floor substitute O-25. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, those opposed say no. That carries unanimously. We are back on the bill. I'd like to hear from Chief Dow,
Yes.
and then we will hear from the public, and that will be Art Tannenbaum. Mr. Dow? Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Council President and Councilors. Just wanted to discuss the fleet proposal, and I want to give credit to Deputy Chief Adam Ekus, who's sitting behind me. He's the gentleman that put this proposal together. It's very well thought out, and it's an interesting way for us to go ahead and fund this fleet facility. We're using fire fund monies, and basically we're taking money that we get from the state that are main stations and substations, and we're maximizing the number of main stations that we have in order to fund this. It's absolutely a necessity for the Albuquerque Fire Rescue. We have almost 200 apparatus, and to maintain those with 3 mechanics that we have right now is become a burden. We outsource a lot of that work to other mechanics in shops, and unfortunately not all those shops have the emergency vehicle technician trained mechanics that we need. The facility we operate out of is 5,000 square feet. It's off of 4th and Aspen, and we've simply outgrown that facility. So it's important for us to move into a larger facility. The one that we proposed that we're looking at right now is 18,000 square feet. That would meet our needs for now and in the future as well. We can bring a lot of that work back into the city of Albuquerque and reinvest into our own employees. And that will help us with more emergency vehicle technicians that are trained mechanics to work on our apparatus. You know, as the council knows, we've all talked about this over the last few weeks in our one-on-one conversations, that when you work on a Seagrave apparatus or a Pierce apparatus specific to what Albuquerque Fire Rescue has, you have to have specific training on those. And it's not as simple as working on just a large truck. The pump, the transmission, the engine, the cooling system is all integrated. And so it voids the warranty if we don't have mechanics that are trained to work on those apparatus. And again, the way that we're funding this is through the State Fire Fund. It's an intercept, so it takes it right off the top. And we're maximizing the number of main stations. So for example, in Councilor Davis's district, Station 11, put a BLS truck in there. Now it qualifies from a substation to a main station. Doing the same thing for Councilor Sanchez's district, Station 18, also Councilor Borrego's district as well. And we'll maximize that. That'll be another $70,000 just from Station 11, another $70,000 for Station 18. The new fleet facility will qualify as a main station. That's $110,000 as well. We can take the existing fleet facility, and I was speaking to Councilor Benton earlier today, and we're going to make that our EMS hub. We'll run the community EMS program out of there as well. We'll have a Class A pumper in there, and we'll have a BLS truck in a downtown area where it's necessary. And we'll maximize that from a substation to a main station, a $70,000 increase. In Councilor Gibson's district, as we spoke, Station 9 will come online in 2020. It's a substation right now. We'll convert that to a main station when it's built. It'll have 3 bays, and we'll have 3 apparatus running out of there. Again, that's from $40,000 a year for a substation to now $110,000 a year. So we're just maximizing that money, and that's how we're going to go ahead and pay for the loan through the New Mexico Finance Authority, and then of course the operating expenses that will occur with a new facility will pay for all of that.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Chief Dow? Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief. Art Tannenbaum?
Can I get some help displaying this, please? Thank you. council. Yeah, maybe the council can take a look at that. That's the floor substitute. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, I'm very impressed from all that I've gathered by the AFR chief, Albuquerque Fire Rescue Chief, and I like the direction the department's going in. He's very intelligent, good communication skills, seems to know what they're doing. And so I really have no problem with this. You know, Albuquerque Police Department, Albuquerque Fire Rescue, these people are working their asses off. They're understaffed, they're overburdened because of the conditions that have been created by the failed leadership of the city. And that's you, the members of the council who've been reelected, the governing body of the city of Albuquerque. But I digress. I don't have all the answers, but as you may have noticed, I can point out a lot of flaws and faults. And I brought this to the attention of city councilors and the senior policy analyst of council services, I think 9 months ago. If you look under section 17 displayed here, this is the floor substitute. The city clerk's office is no longer located at 1 Civic Plaza Northwest. It hasn't been for 5 years. It's at 600 2nd Street Northwest. So you might want to fix that. And the only other, there's an inconsistency with the summary and the memorandum that the administration signed off on. It says Albuquerque Fire Rescue. I don't know if this makes a difference or not, but the legislation says the city fire department. I don't know if those two terms are interchangeable or not, but this is supposed to be a business contract and legal papers that should have the I's dotted and the T's crossed. And my only other question is, why do we need to borrow $2.7 million for this? Didn't you all just give away $2.6 million a couple weeks ago on August 6th for some entertainment tax incentives that the mayor's administration didn't want, and a lot of people in this town didn't want to go with? I think it seems like maybe Albuquerque Fire Rescue is homeless. Thank you for your time, council members.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
We are back on the bill, and because it is a fiscal bill, we don't have to defer this. We can vote on this this evening. And Councilor Winter, to close.
Urge your support.
And I will urge your support also. We have a motion and a second for O-25 as substituted. All those in favor signify by saying yes and raise your hand. Yes, those opposed, that carries unanimously. We are now on item E. Councilor Benton, O-26.
Thank you, Mr. President. 01826 is related to the development, leasing, and sale of a metropolitan redevelopment project and the issuance of metropolitan redevelopment bonds payable from rental payments, approving the metropolitan redevelopment application entitled Bank of the West Metropolitan Redevelopment Bond Application. I move it do pass.
We have a motion and a second. And do you want to move your floor sub?
And I'll move the floor substitute to 026.
We have a motion and a second to approve floor substitute O-26. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, those opposed say no. That carries. We are back on the bill, and we have one individual signed up to speak, and that is Juan Torres.
I spoke on this bill. Do you want me to speak on it again?
If you'd like, it's your time. You have 2 minutes.
For the record, I have attended the Tiny Home General Community Engagement meeting in the last 2 weeks. The recurring issues that are not enough jobs in Albuquerque to accommodate the homeless we have here. The jobs here can't keep a family sustained in a basic level of comfort and to stay out of poverty levels. There is a developer that is planning to construct a project worth $30 million and is asking for $3 million in tax breaks. This project has the potential to put good money into hardworking families that need it. Money that go back into the local economy, into their local neighborhoods, buying a home, putting good food on their table, and giving hope the future will be better. Why should the entity get tax breaks and not help to grow the working community that is wanting to grow and prosper in? We're opposed to this project until it has a prevailing wage, an apprenticeship program, and local contractor language in place. This project will create wealth that will benefit our local businesses and help the families that live here. We owe this to our community and demand that the workers of Albuquerque benefit from this incoming opportunity of growth. We owe it to our communities and their families to a better future that sweat equity, hard work, and sacrifice that will be given by paying the prevailing wage. We owe it to our young adults that are looking for a brighter future and opportunity by offering apprenticeship programs on projects that will provide for them and their families. Our young adults need an apprenticeship program to keep them off the streets and out of trouble, giving options that will keep them alive and out of jail. We as a community are tired of hearing how other states benefit with jobs that hurt our local economy, that New Mexicans are secondary level workers, and that our tax dollars are benefiting their home states. We owe our communities prevailing wages, a better hope for a future with apprenticeship programs that leads our communities and young adults to a chance at a better future. And I'm Juan Carlos with the Southwest Carpenters. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Are there any questions on O-26? And Councilor Benton to close.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a very important project for downtown that eventually is going to provide almost 200 new dwelling units and a lot of reinvestment. Seems like a good project, and I urge your support.
We have a motion and a second on the floor for O-26 as substituted. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes, those opposed say no. No, that carries unanimously. We are now on item F, that's R-57, and I have that bill. It is making findings in connection with the Lower Petroglyph Public Improvement District resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of special levy revenue bonds. I move it do pass. We have a motion and a second by Councilor Pena, and I'd also like to move floor substitute R-57. We have a motion and a second by Councilor Davis. Any questions? All those in favor of the floor substitute signify by saying yes. Yes, those opposed say no. That carries. We are back on the bill. Are there any questions? Then I would like to close by urging your support. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes, those opposed say no. That carries unanimously. We are on the last item on the agenda, and that is item G, R-58, and that is making findings in connection with the Saltillo Public Improvement District resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of special levy refunding revenue bonds. I move it do pass. I have a motion and a second by Councilor Pena, and I'd like to move floor substitute R-58. We have a motion and a second by Councilor Pena. Any questions? All those in favor for the floor substitute of R-58 signify by saying yes. Yes, those opposed say no. That carries unanimously. And are there any other questions? Then I urge your support of R-58. All those in favor signify by saying yes. Yes, those opposed say no. That carries unanimously. And if there is no further business before this council, this meeting is adjourned.
John.